And welcome back. One of our favorite moments of every week. When we do this segment, we know college football is within striking distance. It's our Thursday segment with Mike Griffith. Griff, great to have you with us. Big game in your town this coming weekend. The Hogs are coming over. How's the week gone so far?
Yeah, I think it's gone pretty well. I mean, a top 10 game in Athens between the hedges. It's a treat for the folks at Sanford Stadium. As we know, Georgia plays their marquee game every year in Jacksonville against Florida. So when you get a game like this between the hedges, it's an opportunity for a huge recruiting weekend. Maybe one of the biggest home recruiting weekends since Georgia played Notre Dame between the hedges in 2019. So it's a huge opportunity for Georgia to score well with recruits and potentially score well on the field.
Listen, Mike, you hear from people all the time. I did a show out in Arkansas this morning, and the Razorback fans rightfully are really fired up. Whether they're predicting victory based on fandom or reality, I don't know. But what do you think as we dig deep into this game?
Well, Sam Pittman has just had remarkable success, and it's so good to see Arkansas back at the adult table. In the SEC playing great football. I mean, look at Arkansas. They go out and get Sam Pittman at a Walmart price, and he knocks off the oil barons in Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher and his $9 million and unbelievable state. Everything Texas A&M, everything they could want. They've handed it to Jimbo. They've even given him a raise, even though he's had an NCAA show cause. And he goes out there and gets beat by a guy with a Walmart salary from Arkansas that was the fifth or sixth choice. And all Sam has done is put together a tremendous staff, got kids that believe, these super seniors that have come back to make one last run for glory. I mean, Tom Murphy, the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, really put this in perspective this week when he said, take a look at this. Sam takes over a program. They'd lost 19 straight SEC games, and 14 games later, they're a top 10 team. That is remarkable, Paul. I can't think of another coach, probably since Terry Bowden went 11-0 at Auburn in 1993 after Pat Dye was 5-6 and 5-1 the previous seasons. I can't think of another turnaround this dramatic in the last 30 years.
You're right. And by the way, you should know better than anyone that show causes are not really going to hurt your career arc in college football based on some of the things we've already talked about in the past.
Yeah, well, the NCAA is a whole nother. I mean, I think there is still an NCAA, right? Where football's. We'll talk NCAA come basketball because right now during football, not relevant, not a part of it. Topic for another show. Paul, the only thing that could make this Georgia game better with Arkansas is if Arkansas wasn't coming off such an emotional high. I just don't think you can have two performances like Arkansas would need to beat Georgia. I mean, you're coming off this sky-high win over A&M at AT&T Stadium. Meanwhile, Georgia basically had the day off. I mean, Vanderbilt did show up, but they did little more than that. I mean, 62-0, and Kirby pulled the first-string quarterback in the first quarter and didn't throw a pass in the fourth quarter. They could have scored 100 points, but they didn't. So you've got a rested, hungry Georgia team that's eager to prove they can beat somebody because now Clemson apparently doesn't matter because they've lost a couple of football. I still think Clemson's a decent team. They'd still finish with, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 wins if they were in the SEC. So I'm not ready to bury those Clemson Tigers yet. But still, Georgia, other than that, hasn't really played much of a schedule. In fact, if you look at the offenses they played, I think UAB was the best. They ranked 78th, 79th in the country.
Look, there's a lot I want to talk to you about. So let me get a prediction out of you here, and then we'll move on to some other subjects. So what's it going to be Saturday? What's the final score?
Well, I think Georgia wins, Paul. But here's the problem with predicting this game, and I know you don't like these, the fence riding, but these are teams that both have potential quarterback issues. We don't really know about KJ Jefferson. Sam said on Monday that he expected him to play. I asked Sam on Wednesday, and he said, I'm not answering. He pretty much said, I'm not answering that. So now they need a healthy KJ Jefferson to have a puncher's chance because the way for Arkansas to stay in this game is with deep shots. They lead the nation in yards per catch. They have a breakaway receiver in Treylon Burks. They got 5 guys that have caught passes of more than 40 yards. So this is a big play offense. And if you're going to get Georgia, you are going to get their cornerbacks. That's where they're susceptible, particularly opposite Darian Kendrick. They've had problems there with Keely Ringo and Amir Speed. South Carolina hit them 4 times for passes of longer than 35 yards. There were 4 pass interference penalties against Clemson. So Arkansas has the puncher's chance if Jefferson is healthy. Conversely, Kirby revealed this week JT Daniels still dealing with a lat issue. Now, what does that mean? He looked awful good last week against Vanderbilt with a sore lat. He was 9 of 10 with a drop pass. I don't know how long JT stays in the game, probably till they build about a 3-touchdown lead. So I think it's going to be right around that 17 to 21 point margin, depending on how friendly Kirby Smart feels in the fourth quarter, unless Arkansas can hit those deep shots early.
So, for the most part, you think this is about a 3-touchdown game. Is that fair?
I think so. The fact that it's at home for Georgia, the fact that Georgia is a very rested team, and the fact that Arkansas is coming off such a sky-high victory, all those intangibles favor Georgia. Now, say this, though, Paul. Sam Pittman, if anybody knows how to move the ball and block this defensive front, it's Sam Pittman. When Sam was at Georgia, he was building offensive lines that were pushing around the D-line. This guy knows what he's doing, and they've got a whole offensive line full of returning starters. So I give Arkansas a chance, but, Paul, the talent that Georgia has is overwhelming. You're talking about multiple NFL players. They'll probably have at least 9, 10, 11 guys drafted next year, where a lot of these Arkansas guys are going to be looking for corporate jobs in the Walmart chain in Arkansas.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.